Hey y'all, Irix Guy here, back again with another video. And within this video, I'm going to talk about is Ulysse Nardin, or UN as a lot of people call it, is it better than a Rolex and why? So for starters, let's just say that, you know, when most people think of higher end dive watches, they often think of Rolex and Omega and maybe a Breitling and maybe a Blancpain and that sort of stuff. They may not think of Ulysse Nardin. And Ulysse Nardin is a very high-end watchmaker. They've been making watches since, I think, maybe as far back as the, was it 1800s or whatever? I mean, they've been making them a long time. But they just don't have the name recognition that Rolex or Omega have. And part of that, you know, Rolex and Omega both, they're associated with James Bond. This is not really, I mean, I'm sure they've got some associations, but let's get past all that. Let's just break down the timepiece, and talk about what's great and what's not too desirable about it. First of all, the finishing on the dial is immaculate. You can see there you've got the, and the luminescence on this thing, the lume. This thing is so bright when the lights are out. I mean, it's incredible. The overall fit and finish, I mean, this is superbly put together. You can see the dial, and if you've got a 4K display, crank it up and you'll be able to see the details. But this particular burgundy dial has a quilted type look. So if you're outside and you're in bright sunlight, it looks like a quilt pattern. At night or in lower light, it just looks, you know, it looks like a normal dial. And actually, to answer my question earlier, it says it on the small seconds down here, 1846. So yeah, Ulysse Nardin been around since 1846. There's no compromises whatsoever when it comes to quality here. I mean, this thing is rock solid. The bezel action, it's only got a 60 click bezel, whereas the Submariner has 120 click, meaning that, you know, to go 5 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 times 2 is 60. So to get from 12 o'clock to 12 o'clock, it would be 60 clicks. Whereas with the Submariner, it's 120 clicks. Not that that makes a difference at all, but just worth mentioning. This does have polished center links in the bracelet. And by the way, this bracelet is super comfortable, in case you're wondering. But it has polished center links, and it has brushed outer links. You can also get this on rubber, and it looks pretty good. I'm not a big rubber strap kind of guy, but if you like that, Ulysse Nardin, the rubber straps look really good. Keep in mind, though, they're custom fitted for your wrist. Now, what you're looking at here is really interesting. This is one of the really cool aspects of the, sorry, I cut my finger. I was cutting some charcuterie boards, and I cut my finger down to the bone. But, yeah, that's why I got the bandage on. But the 12 o'clock position, you can see that Cyclops. Look at the sapphire crystal. It's flat. This is innovative. So they've got a Cyclops. They've got a date magnifier, but the Cyclops is below the sapphire crystal. One of the complaints that a lot of people have with the Rolex Submariner, now I didn't go with the Submariner date, I went with the no date, just the regular Submariner, but a complaint that a lot of people have with it is that if you get the date version, that the Cyclops sticks up. Ulysse Nardin doesn't do that. They're like, hey man, we're going to be smart. We're going to put the date magnifier, the date Cyclops, below the sapphire crystal. So I thought that was really cool. It still magnifies it, but you don't have that bulge on the top of the sapphire crystal. Looks really good. Bezel's very well made. Obviously, this is a stainless steel bezel. It, you know, the build quality, that's something I want to talk about with this. Not just the bezel, but also the crown action. Both super reassuring. It's not a quality feel that you get with a lot of pieces that are not Rolex. With this, you definitely get it. And I'll go as far as to say, I think the feel of the crown on this may even be better than the Submariner. You know, tell me what you think within the comment section below. A lot of people say this dial is busy. I think it's kind of cool. You got the small seconds. You got a power reserve indicator. But, you know, if somebody's looking for the Rolex and in their mind, they want the sweeping second hand. You know, if they want that, it's there, but it's small seconds. So, you know, if that's what you're looking for in a dive watch, then yeah, it's small seconds. So there's no big hand that sweeps around. The overall case finishing is excellent. One thing I would like to mention, this does not have a glide lock type mechanism that you can make micro adjustments without tools. This does pop out here. If I didn't have my finger cut down to the bone, I'd pop it out. But you can pop it out and make it fit over a wetsuit. But it doesn't do micro adjustments like the glide lock. Also worth mentioning, the taper of the bracelet, if there is any taper, it's not as pronounced as the Submariner. You can see here, I mean, obviously that goes from large to very small. So, you know, different type bracelet design. I think the clasp works really well. It feels comfortable on the wrist. Does this bracelet feel as comfortable as a Submariner? I don't think so. But does it feel comfortable? I think it feels very comfortable. Now, there's a lot of Ulysse Nardin that are, in my opinion, they're not desirable pieces, just personal preference. This one with the burgundy dial, the quilted, sorry, I've got suntan lotion on it. The quilted burgundy dial, I think it looks exceptional. But that's not the case with all of the Ulysse Nardins. And I think that's why they've kind of gotten a bad, not a bad reputation, but just a, you know, they don't have the Rolex or Omega or Breitling reputation among the eyes of many. And I think that's because they don't, every reference they put out is not as awesome as this one. This one is rock solid. And it's 42.7 millimeters, so it is larger. You know, it does wear larger than the Submariner. Mine's a 40 millimeter Submariner. It's not the current reference. It's the 114060. But it's just a, you know, you could swim with it. You can do, you know, I pretty much abuse this piece. You know, I take it out and I've run in some walls with it and this, that, and the other, just like I do with the Submariner. It holds up fine. You know, no quality issues in my mind. But the thing that's so cool about this is that it doesn't try to be another piece. This piece has a very unique identity. You've got the wave pattern. Look at some subtle things here. You got the wave pattern in the dial. I mean, in the bezel, which is super nice. You've got the quilted. This burgundy dial has a quilted look if you hit it in bright sunlight, which looks really incredible. You may even be able to see that a little bit if you've got a 4K display. Restart this video and crank it up. You'll be able to see that quilt work pattern. So it looks really good. It's got a unique identity. And, you know, this is something that if you wear, people probably won't even recognize it. But even though they don't recognize it, they probably won't say, is that a Rolex or, you know, whatever. That's the kind of comment you get from a lot of dive watches. This watch has such a unique personality that even your non-educated watch people, if they see this on the wrist, they probably won't even think it's a Rolex. They'll just think, oh, that's some sort of, you know, some sort of insert, you know, chain store, whatever here type watch. And that's not the case. This is a high horology piece. Actually, they've been making wristwatches since before Rolex was making them. So they've been around a long time. So I mean, I think it's a great option. I have nothing wrong with Ulysse Nardin. I like it. I like it just as well as I like my Submariner. But you know, if you're going to do a one and done, I would definitely caution you, because if you're going to do a one and done and you think that you might not be satisfied and you might have the itch to trade into something else, the resale on these pieces tends to be pretty soft. Whereas Rolex, historically, they've continued to go up, up, up. So if money's a concern, you may not want to look at Ulysse Nardin unless it's something you want to keep forever. I got this because I plan to keep it forever. I got this in the Caribbean, and you know, there's no desire whatsoever to sell or trade. So I like it. I wear it probably not as much as I wear the Submariner or the Black Bay 58, but it does get a lot of wrist time, and a lot of that is due to the fact that it's highly water resistant and it hasn't leaked. So, you know, with that being said, I mean, it's a great piece for its intended use case, a dive watch, and I think it has a unique identity. And if that's what you're looking for, don't have any hesitation whatsoever. I mean, if you're looking at this and you're kind of on the fence, it's like, oh, is it good quality, this, that, and the other? It's rock solid, in my opinion. Now, keep in mind, the movement is arguably probably not in-house like Rolex. It's a modified, ETA. It's got the power reserve. I mean, Ulysse Nardin performed a lot of enhancements to the movement, but it's still, in the eyes of collectors, is probably not a true in-house movement. So just a little bit of snobbery to be aware of. But, I mean, this is a rock-solid piece, and I don't think anybody could go wrong with Ulysse Nardin. Tell me what you think within the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. And check out all my other timepieces for tomorrow videos too. Y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, Captain Irix Guy here. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to subscribe. It's youtube.com/Irix Guy. And ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.